Thank you, partners. So I was saying welcome to PayCentre webinar on bookkeeping and transaction reconciliation for POS business owners. We are so happy to have you here join the webinar. My name is Bora Ola. I manage the communications and public relations for eSettlement Limited. And today we have experts and professionals and esteemed panelists who want to share from their wealth of wisdom to us to how we can better grow our business, how we can manage our transactions, and how we can expand, keep track of the profit and losses, because that really is the basis of managing any business, really. And we hope that the tips and information you learn here today is so valuable that you can apply it to other businesses and every other thing you're doing. So I'm really happy to see some familiar agents' names here, and I hope to see more. I'm right about now, I'm just going to be calling on our Chief Marketing Officer to give us a short opening speech just before we go straight into the webinar. And if you have any transaction issues or anything, we have some support staff here on standby to help us resolve them. So if you should just make sure that you send, if you have any transaction issues, or like if you have questions that are not necessarily related to the webinar, you can send them to when you're trying to send a chat, in the chat, you see all participants. So send them there. Our support staff will pick some of those issues, see if they can help you resolve it as the webinar is going on. Then they will message you personally with the response or the resolution. But if you have questions relating to the webinar, you can use the Q&A button, right, to do that, and then we'll answer as much as we can. So over to Ayobami now. Ayobami, please take care. Ayobami, mute your mic if you're speaking.
So I'm not used to this thing. So sometimes you think you have on mute, and then you just realize suddenly that you are talking to yourself, apparently. But I want to welcome everybody to this session. I believe that it's this is something we started last year, and this is something we want to continue to do as frequently as possible. So this is the first one this year, and I'm sure before the end of the year, we'll have other things that we would engage on and other topics that we would discuss on. So I'm sure that over the course, within the next couple of months, we'll also reach out to you just to let you, tell us a little bit about some of the challenges you're experiencing, whether it's operational, whether it's with our solution itself. And as we get those information, we'll continue to find ways to have these conversations. We believe in communicating, we believe in having that one-on-one touch with you. And even though COVID is in the air and we can't have a big hall where all of us to gather together, we can use this technology as it's so advanced now that we can still have this opportunities to just talk and engage and and discuss. And so we know that I know that there are a lot of things that need to be said, which is why we're having this session. And like Laura said, we also want to use opportunity for people that might have one challenge or the other to see if we can address it, over the course of this 1 hour, 2 hours interaction. So just to say welcome, I'm hoping it's going to be a very engaging and a very, very educative session. And I'm hoping that even from here going into the town hall meeting, whereby we can where we just talk about, the things that we've been up to and the things that you can expect to come before the end of the year. So I'm very happy that we are all together, and I'm looking forward to having an amazing session and interacting with everybody on this call. So welcome and enjoy yourselves. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ayobami, for that nice welcome address. Thank you to our new partners just joining. If you're just joining, this is PayCentre webinar on bookkeeping and transaction reconciliation for POS business owners. I am your host, Bora Ola, and now I'll be introducing us to our panelists. Starting with Ebu. Ebun Oguntibeju is our team lead for user design and interaction. And everything you see on the application, Ebun's team, they handle with designing this, and Ebun will be taking us through how to use your PayCentre portal, to filter transactions, to log in, and to access the portal. After Ebun, we have one of our top PayCentre agents, Okoyemi Lamsin, aka Farm Business. Okoyemi Lamsin has been an agent right from when PayCentre started, and is actually one of our top performing agents. We've been able to learn a lot from him and his businesses, and we hope that he's going to be able to share from his wealth of experience to help all of us today. Next is Akintola Oyewumi. Akintola Oyewumi is our team lead for reconciliation and is a finance guru. So Akintola will be taking us on bookkeeping and reconciliation, from the finance perspective. I know at the beginning I said it that this session you're going to learn so much from it that you not only apply it to your POS business, you can apply it to other businesses. So Akintola is here to help us get that done. And then last but not the least, we have Ayobami, who just welcomed you. Ayobami is our Chief Marketing Officer, and he's going to be handling the town hall parts of our engagement today. So like I said, for those just joining, we have some support staff on standby to help you resolve some issues. But the only way that can be done is if you send some of the transaction issues you are experiencing, that's transaction issues that is not necessary, that doesn't have to do with this webinar, to all panelists and attendees. That is where the support staff will be able to see your issues and help you resolve them. So once they see it, they will resolve it and then message you personally. Welcome to every agent. I can see Mary, I can see Leonard, I can see Additional, I can see Obade Inde, I can see Emeka. Hi everyone, thank you all so much for joining. Thank you for your feedback. We are looking at everything. Yeah, and we are going to as much as we can respond. So please ensure that your messages and comments is going to all panelists and attendees, so that our support staff can see these messages and help you and respond to the ones they can. If you send to just panelists, everyone will be able to see it. So welcome, Benga. We're happy to have you here. And then if there is any other thing, as much as we can answer, we'll answer them. Our town hall meeting is still there for you to ask a lot of these questions again. So without wasting much time, we will be going straight to Ebun to take us on how to use the PayCentre portal. So Ebun will be taking us through a short presentation on how to use PayCentre portal, because that is the first thing you need if you want to do your reconciliation as a PayCentre agent. You need to be able to know the portal is your best tool. Basically, the portal is your best friend for that. So thank you, Mary. Hi, Onyade. We can see some of the questions. So a lot of these questions that doesn't have to do with what we're discussing at the webinar, we'll be discussing most of them during the town hall meeting. I just want everyone to know that. So it's not like we are ignoring you. We are seeing all of the questions. We're going to be discussing them during the town hall. Matthew, I can see your question. Solution to faulty paper. You have to take it to our offices. You have to take it to our office. But we are going to be resolving, discussing that.
Later.
Yeah. So Ebun, over to you now. Just quickly take us through how the PayCentre portal works, how can agents access it, what are the things that agents can do on it, and all of that. Thank you.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, partners. It's good to have everyone here. And like Raz rightly mentioned, my name is Ebun Oguntibeju, and I'll be taking us on how to use the PayCentre portal as an agent. Firstly, using the PayCentre portal, you can either sign into the portal via your smartphone, that's your Android phone, or you can log in on your laptop. So if you're going to be signing in on your phone, first off, you need to sign in using m.paycenterafrica.com. M there stands for mobile, since you're signing in on your device, on your smartphone. So you sign in, enter the address m.paycenterafrica.com, and you provide your login details. Your login details are your PayCentre registered phone number, the phone number you used to sign up as an agent, and then your password. Your password is your 6-digit password that you created when you were setting up, your account. So when you log in successfully, there are a couple of things you can do on the portal. The portal affords you the privilege of carrying out admin privileges as a PayCentre agent. By admin privileges, we're talking about ability to view all your transactions, filter your transactions based on different filtering parameters: date, time, transaction status, transaction categories, and you could also request for or get an activation code from the portal. You could change your password. I would share my screen right now. For now, I would be presenting from the laptop, so it may look a bit different from what you have when you log in on your phone, but it is apparently the same thing. So I would take us through a short run through the portal on a laptop. So I'll be sharing my screen now. All right, I don't know. I think you should see my screen now. Please, can anyone see my screen? Can I get a response? All right, you should be able to see my screen now. So can I get a confirmation from anyone? Can you see my screen?
Yes.
All right, so what you can see is the login or the sign-in page for the portal. So you sign into the portal, like I earlier mentioned, with your phone number, not just any number, but your registered PayCentre number. If at this point you don't use your registered PayCentre number, definitely you won't gain access into the portal. Then your password, and then you can sign in. So signing into the portal now on this looks a bit different, but the same content, right? So like you have on your mobile phone, if you've signed in, like I earlier mentioned, if you're going to sign in on your phone, you're going to sign in using m.paycenterafrica.com, and then provide all of the login details like I just did. So the first thing you're going to see is your dashboard. The dashboard is a summary of all activities, all your PayCentre activities. It shows your agent's name, your transaction value. That's the transaction value now talks about how much you've carried out in terms of transactions on PayCentre, the daily value, and then you can see your daily volume. This is just a presentation or a demo account created for this purpose. So you can see your daily reports. As a PayCentre agent, you see your daily reports. You can see the number of daily successful transactions, failed transactions, and their respective volumes. Then you can also see the transaction breakdown, right? So that is pretty much what you have on the dashboard. And then you can also view your transactions. You can then go to the transaction page where you view all the transactions that you've been carrying out or you've carried out so far as a PayCentre agent on the platform. So you can see on the transaction page, you can see your ID, that's your agent or your business name, the name with which you registered on PayCentre, your transaction ID, the type of the transaction. The transaction type talks about the category the transaction belongs to, and then the payment mode, the amount, the status, the pre-balance and post-balance. The pre-balance talks about how much you had in your purse prior to carrying out a transaction, while the post-balance tells you how much you have after you've carried out a transaction. Right on top of the page where you have your transactions detail, you can carry out, you can decide to filter your transactions. For example, you're trying to trace or, get transactions carried out within a particular period of time, or you're trying to trace all, withdrawal transactions, or you want to trace or filter out all funds transfer. So what you do basically is to enter the start date, the date from which you want to filter from. For example, I want to see transactions that were carried out in the last 24 hours. Then I enter that start date, enter the end date, and then the status. What is the category, or what type of transaction am I trying to filter? Am I looking out for all successful transaction, all pending transaction, all processing transaction, or failed? So you specify the status of the transaction you're looking out for, then the type of transaction. So if for example, I want to filter all fund transfer, I select the appropriate, category. Then also, if I'm looking out for a particular or a singular transaction, then I can also enter the transaction ID, select the transaction ID, then I click on filter. Once I do that, it returns the results that matches the filter parameters that I've just entered. Then I can also choose to export the result of that filter transaction. You can see export here. You can decide to export the filter transactions to PDF. You can decide to export to Excel, and that is basically what you can do on your agent transaction page. Also, at this point, you might have filtered out a transaction, then because prior to filtering, you do not know the transaction ID. But after filtering, based on maybe you realize that you're trying to trace a transaction that was carried out in the last 48 hours, and you had to filter using dates. But when after the results were returned, after you filtered, you can then choose to copy out your transaction ID, and then maybe you need to escalate or forward to support and all that. So basically, that is what you can do on your transaction page. Then you have your POS page where you can create POS. Currently, you may want to create a POS account for one of your shop attendants, and then you come on that. So you click on create POS account and you set up that particular POS account for your attendants. Then you can also decide to change your password. For example, you notice or you feel that your account has been compromised at a time. You can decide to enter your password by providing the old password, the current password, and confirming the current password. So once you do that, some reset instruction will be sent to the registered phone number, to your email attached to this PayCentre account, with which you can then log in again with the new password. Then also you have the activation code. You may want to request for activation code. Is what you need to set up your PayCentre account. So it's possible that as an existing agent, at a time you switch devices, and then you're using a new device now, and you're setting PayCentre on that device again. So you need to generate activation code. And with the activation code, you can access your existing account with PayCentre. So I think that is, then also you can log out. Basically, you can log out from your portal, and it's quite advisable that you should log out. For example, your device that you use to run the PayCentre application is accessible to not just you alone and other people. So for security reasons, you should log out immediately after you are done with all that you want to do on the portal. So that is pretty much what the PayCentre portal is about. Like I earlier mentioned, just to recap, you see a summary of your transactions on your dashboard. You see the transaction log on the transaction page, from where you can filter transactions based on specified parameters, such as the status of the transaction, the category of the transaction. You can also search on that page using just the transaction ID. Then you can also choose to export the result of your search of your filtered transactions on the transactions page. Then you can create a POS account. You can create a POS account. For example, you're trying to create or set up an account for a shop attendant. who will be managing your location, while you're away. Then you can generate activation. Then you can change your password. Probably you feel compromised. You feel activities are going on beneath that you are suspicious of. You can change your password. I hope I've been able to do justice within this limited time to how to make best use of the PayCentre portal. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ebu, for that enlightening this thing. I can see some questions here. So I have an agent asking, I don't know how to access this online portal. So your online portal is, source go to paycentreafrica.com, then click on agent login. So once you visit www.paycentreafrica.com, click on agent login, and then you log in with your, like Ebu said, your phone number and your 6-digit password. Right, so that's how to access the portal. Then how do you log in? You again log in with your phone number and 6-digit password that you have. So thank you very much, Ebu, for that. One thing I wanted to touch on, because from what we get from support, a lot of our agents come and they say that, they say that I need my statement, right? They say they need their statement of account, but you've shown us how easy it is to get it now from the portal, right? So that means they can download their statement either in PDF or in Excel. But I think this can only be done if they access the portal on a web platform. Can you confirm that? Are they able to download the statement on mobile, or is it just when they use it on a web platform?
So on the desktop, it's quite straightforward. After filtering, out the transactions, you can simply export to PDF or export to Excel. But on the mobile, you just see a record of all your transactions. So if they need to print it out, they would need to sign in on the desktop. However, I don't know if a screenshot will suffice for the reasons that they need it for. So that is how to access it on the mobile.
So thank you very much. So just a tip for our agents: if you need your PayCentre agent transactions, and maybe you need it in PDF, maybe you want to send it to someone or you want to print out, just see if you can, access it via a desktop. Log into your portal. Once you filtered maybe the dates that you want or something, you can now export their PDF or Excel. I think that would be really helpful. So thank you very much, Ebu. I hope, with your session, we have a better understanding of how the PayCentre portal works. Okay, I use my admin password and it's not logging me in. Okay, so Jacob said, I think Ebu answered some of your question where he said, if you don't know your password, you can just change the password. There's a place for you to click on forgot password there. So all of you take more questions at the end of the session. So we are just going straight to Akitola now, who will be taking us on reconciliation itself and bookkeeping. What does it entail? What's it about? So, and then yes, I can see, can we get transcript of this meeting? Yes, this meeting is being recorded. So we will upload it to our YouTube, and we'll share a link with you where you can watch it at your own time and pace and even learn more. So yes, okay, you can download on mobile. I can see the scene, so great.
All right, Bura, I forgot to mention this, right? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
All right. While you may not be able to download it as PDF or Excel on your mobile, you can simply download the page, right?
Okay, download the page.
Yeah. So you can download the page. So you just click on the.
Can you show us? Is it possible just so we are sure?
All right. So this is it. I will try and point my phone screen at this camera so we can all see.
Okay.
So
then also, Abidemi is saying you should take the activation code part again. So can you just also explain that, so that how can I see my transactions here? So,
all right. So please, I hope this works. So this is what you see on your transaction history page on your portal, right? I don't know. I don't know if this camera is doing justice to this.
Yeah, we can see it.
All right. So for example, right now, I need to, export the details of this transaction, this particular one. So these are the details of this transaction. right? So I need to export it, even though I cannot save it as PDF, but I need to export it so I can, I can pass it, to
My customer, like you
yes, the
receive.
customer. So this is what you do. You click on, there's a triple button at the top right of your Android device. Then you can see that yes, you can see download. You can see this download. There's a kind of arrow pointing downwards. So you can just click on this. So you see it downloads it. I've actually downloaded this. So download. So once downloaded, you can then click on open, right?
Oh, so it saves to your okay.
So you can actually access transaction details, save
You
them.
can download it from on mobile too. But I mean, the bulk one is still for desktop. Like if, for example, Believe here is asking that can she export transaction for about 4 months? Yes, you can, but you can mostly do that on the desktop. So once you log in to your PayCentre portal or your desktop, you filter by date the 4 months that you want to, and then you click on export to PDF and it will download to your system. Thank you very much, Ebu. Abidemi, on activation code, once you log into your portal, you can get an activation code. Maybe you log out of your app, you need to log it back, or there was an update. Once you log into your portal on your mobile or desktop, you click on the menu button, you see a place where if you click on activation code, it will bring up a new activation for you. There is no space for forgot. How can I get my statement? Yeah, we just discussed that. Joy will respond to your messages. Thank you for your patience. Again, there's still the town hall part where we'll talk more. So I'll just be going straight to Akitola here. Akitola will be taking us through reconciliation and bookkeeping for the finance standpoint. So thank you very much, Akitola, for joining us.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Akintola. I'll be taking reconciliation. So, what's reconciliation? Reconciliation is an accounting task. Those are comparing two different sets of records to see that whatever figures that you have on one side matches the same figure you have on the other side. So if you have a record and you are keeping it, at the end of a particular day, you can confirm that the amount of physical cash you spent and the money you spent electronically from your purse balances with what is in your account. So though it's very difficult as maybe a POS agent to be doing reconciliation, but it's very, very important that we try as much as possible to do it maybe once or twice in a day, maybe in the middle of the day, maybe around 2, and then at the end of the whole day. Because if you are not taking any record, then we can actually not match against the other record you have on the portal, or you are using your on your app to reconcile. So it's very, very important that we take notes of different transactions. We can, at the beginning of the whole day, you can get a note, write the physical cash that you have with you. And you can also take note of the purse balance you are starting your day with. So that way, when you're about to do your reconciliation, you can easily compare that, oh, you've spent your whole 100,000. Then what you have in your account is now maybe 50,000. And it's why it's 50,000 is because you've spent another 50,000 electronically. So by the time you look at your physical cash and your account and you take care of the one that you spent electronically, the one you spent electronically are monies that you transfer from your PayCentre account, or maybe you use for bill payments. Those are the ones that you are spending electronically. So the record, you can just create a kind of a small table, a table that we have a date, a transaction ID, the transaction type, the amount, a ref number, or maybe RRN or anything that is important to that transaction type. Then if you can note the charges for that particular transaction and what you are charging, even a glance after a while, maybe after 3 hours or after a little time, you can even say, oh, this is the total amount of revenue or total amount of profit I've made today. You can even say, okay, you can see your how well you've done, and you can know how the day has been going. So I'll try to break this reconciliation down into 4 major steps. So initially I said reconciliation is a act of is an accounting procedure. So it's just an act of comparing 2 different source records. That's a record from 2 different sources. So you already have a record that PayCentre is providing to you, be it on the app or on the portal. That's still the same source. So you need to create your own source, which is writing down, taking note of all these transactions that you are doing. So I'll quickly list the 4 major steps that you need to take to do reconciliation. The first is to compare your record, the ones you are recording, with your transaction history on PayCentre. So when you compare your record with the transaction history on PayCentre, and you have any transaction that you cannot cross-reference or you cannot match, there's one particular transaction that you cannot match, then you write it down. That's the second one. You make sure that you note any transaction that you cannot match. That means if there's a particular transaction that is on your record, because I believe your internal record should actually have all the details, unless maybe you are missing them out. Maybe you are missing one transaction out, and PayCentre portal will actually help you in that cases. But it's good that you make sure that you keep a complete record, that you are writing down all your transactions. So by the time you compare the 2 different records, the ones you've written down and your one you have on PayCentre, identify a transaction that you cannot match, the one that you cannot cross-reference, then you write it down. Then you now need to go through your own record, because when you are going through your record, you can do your addition and the subtraction and everything, and make sure that the addition and the subtraction that you are doing, everything is correct. And you can also go through your statement to see that all the addition and subtraction are also correct. So if you suspect any error, in this case, you can note it down. So for the 2 errors, you will need to send it to PayCentre. The support team will assist you. If there is anything that you notice that this particular transaction, you can't really match it, and then you've actually done the transactions. And there are little major issues that usually cause this reconciliation issues. One common issue of you don't confirm whether the transaction is even successful or declined. You've handed over cash to customer. Maybe later, maybe you've moved to another customer. You now found out that that transaction was declined, and then you're now wondering that this money was not credited to your account. Why that transaction was actually declined? That's why it was not added to your post balance. Another one is has to do with transfers. You have actually made deposits into your customer's account without confirming the cash and seeing that the total amount that this person is doing is actually okay with the amount you are sending out to the person's account. And then another thing is that when you do a transaction and maybe that transaction is a transfer and it's actually pending, So that transaction, what it means is that it's actually, the transaction is in process. So that transaction over the time might actually get successful. And if it's not successful, you need to allow it to end that process and refund your account for it. So you need to make sure that you don't do another transaction for a pending transaction that has not completed the transaction cycle. So another thing common is that you need to verify very well when you are sending money to an account to make sure that the account you are sending money to is actually the correct account. It's actually, you cross-check the account name, the account number, the bank, everything tallies before you send money to the account. So if we are keeping these steps, we have our record, we match it like maybe twice a day, or at worst once in a day. And then we can note if there's any transactions that is not matching. And then if we have any transaction that you cannot really, that you see that is not adding up, if you go through your, both the PayCentre transaction history, and if you see any transaction, anything that you suspect that is not correct, you can escalate to our support team. They will be able to resolve. So I'll just do a recap on the reconciliation steps. You need to have an internal record. That internal record, you match it with your PayCentre transaction history. See whether those transactions are matching. Then secondly, if you cannot find any one of them, take it down. Check all the post balance and the balance before the transactions. Make sure all the addition and subtraction, everything is fine. If there's anything, you note it down. So by the time you you close your day, you can actually say that, oh, you've balanced your record. And if you are using the table that I mentioned earlier, where you have the transaction type, amount, the important details of the transaction, the charge, the amount you are charging, and everything, at the end of the whole day, you can just total, you can see what you've made as revenue, and then you can total your transaction, look at your fiscal cash, look at what you have in your wallet. By the time you subtract it, you see that everything will balance, and then the whole day is fine. That will be all on reconciliation.
Sorry, I was muted for a bit. So thank you very much, Akitola, for that enlightening session. So, I love that after talking about reconciliation, you still give some tips, like if the transaction is not confirmed, don't give your customer the money, have your own record, right? That's how reconciliation works. So you have if you're doing transactions during the day, noting everything down. When you go to your portal, confirm that, well, what you wrote here is also on the portal, like what the balance is, and then look at your pre and post balance. So that's what your balance was before you did the transactions, right? And then post is what it was after the transaction. So thank you very much for that. We'll just go straight to Mr. Okoyemi Lamson. So he is going to be taking still bookkeeping and reconciliation, but from an agent's perspective. I mean, he's a PayCentre agent, like most of our partners here. So let him tell us how he does it, and what other tricks and tips and tips does he use, and everything, just to ensure that business is blooming. You're able to keep track of your finances. You can see your profits, you can see your losses, and business is getting better. Just before you start, Mr. Koyemi, sorry, I just want to say once again, partners, we have our supporting members on this call right now, on this webinar, trying to go through, some of your responses and some of your issues to ensure that they help you resolve them. But the only way that can be done is if you either send your message, if you send your messages to all panelists and attendees, not just all panelists, because these support members are not in panelists, they're in the attendees like you. So you need to send your message to all panelists and attendees, right? So that they will see it and they can respond to it. So Thank you very much. I think I'll also put their name so that you can message them personally and they can help you resolve the issue. I'll put their name in the chat now for everyone to see. Mr. Poyemi, please have a go.
Yes, hello, good day, everyone. I'm sure you can all hear me.
Yeah, we can.
Please confirm that you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
All right. So I'll be talking about bookkeeping from an agent experience. I own about 21 pay points. That's 21 shops, and I want to share some things with you guys on bookkeeping. I want to firstly start with that doing a POS business. I want to tell you guys that stop using a corporate account for your POS business. The reason why is on corporate account, the charges when money comes in and out, the bank charges you so much, and a lot of agents find it difficult to see profit coming in and out. That is one. And I also encourage you guys to move at the end of your daily transaction, move out your profit, your daily profit that you have made that day. I want you to move it out to a separate account. You should have a different, that means you should have like two accounts, one for your business and one for your profit, so that you can see the real profit that you have made 3,000 today and you have sent it to somewhere safe. Stop missing your profit and your running capital together daily. You should be able to separate them in one way or the other. It's either you start a daily contribution or you can keep it safe somewhere. Do that every day. And I have had some people said they do their account, that is, they balance their account every week. Please try and do that every day. Do your balancing every day so that you can see how your profit is coming in and out. So I'd like to share some files here. I'm doing that. I'd like to share some files. So if you can see.
Please, partners, can we see Mr. Poyemi's screen here? I can see it. I can see it. So.
All right. What I just shared now is what I use daily. Now, this account is a balanced account. On the cash, the agent took out 70,000 naira that day. On the post balance, the agent has 3,843 naira in our account. And while the transaction was going on that day, she got extra cash of 50,000 naira. At the end of this transaction, she made 2,051 naira. So after the transaction, that is after sales cash, the cash is going to bring home is 70,250. Then stop leaving money in your agent account. Stop leaving money in their account. Once they have about 30,000 or 20,000, let them clear it out to now. To do that, because if you want to be clearing money out from your purse, it will cost you money. So you can do purse to purse if you have more than one. If you have more than one center. So this account is balanced. Now you may not need some of these variables. You may not need them, but if you program your bookkeeping this way, you can get a balanced account daily. And so far, this is the best way I've been keeping my account for the past 4 years. And money don't get missing this way. If you do it this way, your money will not get missing. Also, I'm going to share something now again. I want to show you how the other part, that is the daily transaction, how the records are taken down. Coming in a minute. Okay. Ura, can you still hear me? Hello?
Yes, I
Yes.
can. We can hear you. Yes.
All right. So I don't know what is wrong. Yes, I can't share the other file. So now I know what I just showed you guys now. You have questions, and I want to take the questions so that we don't just talk and talk. This has to be something you do. It is
Absolutely.
practical. Yes, also, there are a lot of things you need to consider in your expenses, because you see that we have space for expenses here. Don't forget that you have shop rent, data, your local government will come around for some cash, signage, your transportation, light bill, your stationaries, bank charges, and I know you guys have, other expenses too. Daily, you need to be able to keep all these expenses. Sometimes I'll find out that, the expenses that I have in a day, we don't even make up to that amount. And if you don't put this information down, you will think money is missing somewhere. Make sure that every day, before you start the day transaction, make sure that you record what you have inside your
Hello, okay, okay.
Yes, I'm with you.
Okay, okay.
So make sure you record what is inside your purse. Now, you may have a zero balance at the end of transaction in a particular day, and due to some reasons, let's say a particular transaction was reversed back into your account and the next day, and you don't record this. If you have an agent that is creative, you will not know what has happened inside the account, and they may just delete that part from the records, and the owner of the money will come back to you and you start calling PayCentre. So make sure that every morning you check, don't rely on the record that you have last night. Make sure that you recheck that record, what is inside that pouch, and put it down for that day transaction. Make sure you are the one that is putting it down. Don't let your agent write it. Check it and do your account balancing daily. All right. Thank you. That's all I have for now.
Right. Thank you so very much, Mr. Kwame. That was enlightening. I mean, a lot of the things that you even taught us here, I didn't really know. So I love that you said, okay, so don't use don't use a corporate account because the charges will take most of the credits, right? But you also mentioned that have two accounts, the one for your profits and one for your business expenses running. And you said do your reconciliation at the end of every day. That's the best practice, right? As opposed to waiting weekly, so things don't get mixed up. So I mean, taking all of these tips in mind, it will really help you, because at the end of the day, you can, okay, this is my profit. You can, if there are any expense costs there, you know, you can take it. You can know, okay, what you can even add up a profit at the end of the month. So thank you so very much for that. We are going to take more questions. I think now is the time, if you have. So let me just see some questions in our question Q and answer box here. We need questions that are relating to you know, the webinar bookkeeping and transaction reconciliation. Okay. Mr. Kwame, someone has a question here. They said, how did you calculate your profits? Was it the cash increase after the starting money? So can you please, they said, how did you calculate your profits? Was it the cash increase after the starting money? That's maybe the money you had at the beginning of the day. They said, how do you calculate your profits? What will you know? How will you know what your profit is?
Yes. Now, what you charge, you know, we all have our different charges.
Yeah.
That is what we charge at our various centers. Now, because the record book is too lengthy, that's why I only shared the part of where the account is balanced. On a separate, let me just share that. Let me share that document. You know, from this account now, you find out that on this particular day, the person did about 23 transactions or so. Yes, I have 23 transactions. So on the commission, that is the last table on your right, you can see commission charges.
Okay.
Now, what we are charging it on, that is, you find it before the last table, the last row. That is what we charge for each transaction. So the agent is expected to, you know, minus our profits immediately from what PayCentre is taking. And that is why you have those records on the last row. That is on the last row. Now, this figure are added up. It will give us profit from POS.
Okay.
That is what will give us profit from POS that we have in the first document I shared. So that is how you calculate your profit. So at the end of the day, the profit will be added to the total cash that you gave the agent. I'm sure I've been able to explain how you can do that.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much for that. So let's just see another question that you know, sometimes it's for us. So I'm only taking questions that relate to reconciliation and webinar. Every other question we'll discuss them in our town hall meeting, which we'll be getting this. I know someone was asking, they said, do you include cash out transactions in your daily transaction reports? Okay, I think Mr. Samuel here is giving us a tip that, you know, everyone uses. They said, do include cash out transactions. Yes, you should. Disputes, all right. So, do you have questions, dear partners? Do you have questions on? Okay, can we get the format of the record keeping for the reconciliation? Akitola, I think this is addressed to you. Can you take us through the no, or maybe Mr. Kwame can answer it, but I think you've shown us here the format of the record keeping for reconciliation. So I think what you did is, you know, you have transaction ID, you have the amounts, what else? Can you just quickly run us through what at the top? So transaction ID, amounts, this what you just showed us now. Like, what are the things that they should keep notes of? So you can just
Okay, let me share that document again. And
just tell us what is at the top.
now, we have balance, time the transaction was done,
Okay.
and we have bank. That is the
Okay.
bank card you are using at that time.
Okay.
Is either the bank card you are using at that time or the bank you are sending the money to.
Okay.
Now, we also have the amount of the transaction you are doing. Now, the amount of the transaction you are doing, that is if the customer is taking 5,000 and the customer wants you to take your own charges from the total amount you are withdrawing.
Okay.
At the end of the day, for 5,000, I think PayCentre takes about 28 naira or so. No, I'm not sure about that. I don't know what PayCentre, I can't remember right now. But you have to write the exact amount that was credited into your account on the amount.
Into your purse. Okay.
Into your record. You have to write it. That was why I think when PayCentre was taking they took, I don't know what happened then. They were charging higher. They were charging agents higher. This is how the agent got to know that the transaction they are doing is higher than what they used to do before. If you keep records like this, you will know because you'll be familiar with each transaction, the amount. Then the next one, it is the amount that you are charging in your center. So when you minus what is left for the company, that is for your own company, for you as an agent, then you have 73.80.
Is that the profit? That will be the profit, right? The last one. Okay.
The last one is the profit that you are making. So if you do 20,000 and you charge, if you do 20,200 and you are charging 300 naira for 20,000, you are going to make 204 naira.
Okay.
If you do 2,100 naira and you are charging 100 naira, you are going to make 88 naira. So you are supposed to write what you are making directly so that by the time you calculate your profit, you will know what exactly you have made that day. And it's also important for you to put the time you did that transaction down on your record sheet. It's very important. The time.
Okay.
That transaction was done. So that when you have issues with that particular transaction, you will not be running up and down on the dashboard.
Yeah, you can just filter by the exact details. Oh, that's
yes,
great.
You'll be sure of the time you did this particular transaction. And also, you should have records of the bank too, because I don't think all these things shows on the dashboard.
Yes. All right, that's great. Thank you so very much, Mr. Opeyemi. I mean, this is really helpful. I hope our partners can look at this. You can just, even if it's if you don't have a logbook, although we usually try to provide logbooks to our partners, you can just get a paper, note all of these things down. Make sure your balance, before the transaction was done, the time, the bank of the card. So if it's a cash out transaction, you note down the bank of the card. If it is a funds transfer, you note down the bank that you're sending the funds to, then the amount of the transaction. And don't forget that, they said the amount is what was credited to your purse, right? Mr. Opeyemi, if I'm not wrong. The amount here is what was credited to your purse. Then what's the next one? I can't see it before your profits. After this amount, time, yes. So, everybody, the time, and then you now put what your profit was. So thank you so very much.
Now, let me quickly, the first one, that is where we have the balance.
Yes.
At each transaction, as the money is adding up to your purse, you and your purse are supposed to be correct. Your purse is not supposed to be saying, let's see, like for the first transaction, we have 8,716 naira. You are not supposed to be having having a different figure inside your purse, and you have a different figure on this balance sheet. That's where we have balance. So you and your purse, you are supposed to be working together. So as you are minusing, when you make deposit transfer for customer, the amount in your balance reduce, and it's supposed to. That means what you are expecting to leave the purse, you leave the purse. So if you have problem, if you don't keep your balance properly, there's going to be problem balancing the account.
Okay, all right. So thank you very much. So it's very key that you ensure that you are balancing your sheets with what's in your purse. So if at the beginning you had 100, maybe 100,000, you've now done the transaction, it's now 90,000. When you are writing the new transaction that you want to do, update it with the recent balance, right? I want to confirm, always update your sheet with the recent balance in your purse.
Yes,
so everything that is okay. Thank you so very much. I just want to see if you have any more questions on which one is balance. Okay, so they said, which one is the balance? Is it what you have before? Yes. So Mr. Oluwa could be yes. The balance is what you have before you carry out the transaction, right, Mr. Opayemi?
Yes.
That's yes. What was the course? Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I think we've covered these questions around bookkeeping and reconciliation now. So thank you very much for our webinars, Mr. Opayemi. You have been such a wealth of information. You don't know, even me that I'm not an agent, but if I sit today, I want to become a PayCentre agent now. All the things I've learned, I know how helpful they will really, really help me, in my business.